I'm not scared to talk about it. I'm annoyed that my parents, for right or wrong, are telling me what to tweet.
Boom. Okay, we're on the same page with that. I don't mind talking about this subject. I know it's hot button. I know it's nuanced. I know it's a hard discussion. It's layered. I don't have a problem talking about it. But I do have a problem you telling me when, where, and how I should talk about it.
Which I do think, speaking for myself, there is something to look into. Why am I so triggered when people tell me what to do? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Take Your Shoes Off with Rick Glassman. I'm Rick Glassman. And today's guest is Erik Griffin from being Erik Griffin. I wanted to give an intro because the podcast ended and I had this feeling that I just am unsatisfied. We talk about stuff that a lot of podcasts are talking about now with the political climate, with comedy in Los Angeles, with controversial subjects of which I have opinions and Erik has opinions. You know, the world is very sensitive right now, and I am both aware that they're sensitive, and I'm also stubborn that I don't want to have to change the way I communicate just because I'm afraid of people misunderstanding. I have been misunderstood my whole life. This isn't a poor Ricky story. This is a Ricky is a human story, and I am responsible for a lot of these things. It's just not new to me. You know, I want to go back in time. And then, you know, I'm a kid now, but I'm not going to get a kid to say my words, so just pretend I'm a kid. When I was in 8th grade, I was sent to a learning disabled class because I have a learning disability. And in that class, I was too learning disabled, or whatever the reason was. I went to another special class. I call it a special class because to this day, I don't know what it was or what it was called. In this class, I was monitored in a way that I didn't know about, you know, being 14 years old. By the end of the school year, I found out that there were reports about me that I would stab myself and I would burn myself with cigarettes, and I was loud and disruptive. And I was loud and disruptive, but I didn't stab myself. I've never even smoked a cigarette before. I had this can of Tough Actin, which you use for athlete's foot. Somebody in my house had it. You turn it upside down and you spray it. Cold air comes out. I put it on my hand and it would leave like a mark and then it would disappear. I kept doing that. I thought that was interesting. It left a little mark on my hand and they wrote this down that I burnt myself. The point I'm making is, over the past year, I've been starting to realize how triggered I am about people telling me who I am and what my intentions are, and I don't get to have a voice in that narrative. Ultimately, in 9th grade, I was sent to a special school. It was called PEP, Positive Education Program, and it was for, you know, the best way I could explain it, my mind as a 9th grader is these are bad kids that were robbing people and breaking into places and getting into fights, and I'm sure they were misunderstood in their way and blah, 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 blah. But the point is, I had to go to a school not because of A, B, and C that was true, but because of D, E, and F that wasn't true. Now, was I loud and disruptive? Yes, I was obnoxious and I was annoying. But being obnoxious and annoying then were fuel to me harming myself and potentially endangering other people because I am harmful. So it's dangerous when you say this, which is true, makes this, which isn't true, more valid. The point I'm making, which we touch on a bit in this podcast, is the stuff that's happening with Chris and the allegations. And it's tough, man. It's tough that while some of this stuff that may be true is happening, it's perpetuating some other stuff that might not be true that's happening. And we are in a world, whether it's for Chris or whether it's posting a black box or whether it's going online and singing a song with your friends, that imagine if there was no heaven, it would be easy if you can. I don't know if that was the lyric. It might have been try. No hell below us, below us only sky. I don't remember what it was, but you know what I'm talking about. It's uncomfortable that we have to say stuff, not because we want to talk about it in that moment, but because we are afraid that if we don't talk about it in that moment, people will say that we're burning ourselves with cigarettes and we're stabbing ourselves. So I have a real aversion to talking about something because people tell me I have to. But it's okay, man, to chill out and wait for more stuff to come out. I don't know everything, and up until recently, I felt really okay with that. But it now seems to be that everybody needs to know everything, or that means that they burn themselves with cigarettes. It means that they're a racist. And I think it's okay to talk about that. I think it's okay to say that, hey, I believe women when they say these things, but also say some of these things that are being said, I don't have full context to. So I'm unsure of it. Why can't I say that? And I don't mean me, Rick. I mean, why can't we as a public take a fucking minute and make up our mind before we feel like we have to influence not other people's morals, but how they feel about us? A rule that I made for myself from the beginning, which is I'm not going to control this podcast and only post things that make me look good. I do think that I could have been more efficient. It's like, I'd like to edit this down. I'd like to try it again, but that's just not going to happen. I just want to acknowledge here in this intro that this world is a tough world to navigate. By making sure I'm speaking honestly, I don't have regrets for it. I feel like my podcast might be annoying. It might be redundant. People might disagree with me, but I don't feel like, well, I lied. But Twitter, man, the Twitter mob, it's a rough world where people make decisions based on other people's opinions. It's about people taking the time to digest information and not feeling the need to go public and be an activist and be a professional on the law, on civil rights, on science, on virus and climate. Say what you know, but also admit what you don't know.
Say what you know, but also admit what you don't know.
And I don't know most things. Why is that a problem? I guess it's a problem if you don't know stuff and you don't ask questions and you don't investigate, but that's not what I'm talking about. Believe me, I ask questions. I'm making this intro as long as the podcast itself. I just don't like being scared. And the truth is, I don't have many tools to deal with feeling scared. And I'm both upset that I don't have those tools and grateful that I haven't been in enough situations that force me to develop them. You know, I've talked about this on my podcast before about being unaware of how people are receiving me and not picking up on facial cues very well or at all for a time. And I didn't care. I didn't know. I wasn't considering what people thought about me because I didn't even realize they were thinking anything bad about me. That's tough because it makes me unaware, but I mean, what a blissful place to be of just like, hey, here I am. Aren't I funny?
Say what you know.
When I go on stage, for better and for worse, I'm not affected by people not laughing because I have an intention and I'm trying something. But now to be scared about talking about somebody because you don't want to throw somebody you know under the bus, but you also don't want to condone that person's behavior. But at the same time, I don't know everything that happened. Stuff comes out and I know it's only part of the email, and then other stuff comes out where it's the rest of the email that completely changes the context. I don't think it's okay to abuse your power. I don't think it's okay to speak to a person like that. I also don't think it's okay to say that somebody was going to sexually molest you when you never even met them and just to project that. That's a tough allegation. Maybe I was burning myself with cigarettes. Nobody even talked to me about it. Let me tell you, it was tough actin' tenactin. And if you find out it was cigarettes, then let's get me the help that I need, sure. You know, I hope that I'm connecting with you. I want to be honest. That's my MO, man. I have lied and I will lie again. And a lot of times I probably don't even know consciously in the moment when it's happening, but I take a really strong, calculated approach trying not to. And I am super sensitive when it's done to me. And that's what I'm talking about what I've been learning in the past year about, you know, my parents lied to me. It's not my parents are liars. My parents are humans. I would argue that they lie to me less than most people would. It's just that growing up and thinking that everything was at face value, and every time somebody tells me something, I believe it, to then find out, oh, well, you should have looked at between the lines. And I never developed that skill. And then when you look back in time, I only remember my memory. I don't remember everything that happened. So I'm confused with what's real and what's not real. So, and this is an issue in my personal relationship with Betty of just like, I'm too sensitive to lying. I also don't know when I'm supposed to. Sometimes it might be better to lie. You know, sometimes I haven't seen Betty in a while because she's stuck in the UK. And sometimes she'll say, do you want to kiss? And she's just trying to connect. But my TMJ disorder has been real bad. My jaw hurts a lot. When she says, do you want to kiss? I know I'm supposed to say yes, but the truth is, no, my jaw hurts. You could kiss me on the cheek if you want. And then I fucking have to say that to her. And luckily, and thank you, Betty, she not only understands me, she accepts me and loves me for all of this, but I'm sure she would feel better if I said, yes, I want to kiss you. It's just lie. But then it's, when do you lie? When do you not? By lying, what am I pretending? Am I trying to make you like me more? Am I trying to avoid discomfort? Because that feels like a selfish act. You know, there's a cost benefit to these things, and they call them white lies when the cost is less expensive than the benefit. But I would argue that people don't know the real cost of a lie. Because in a moment you think this thing is only 10 cents, so it's worth it. But what you don't realize is now you've set a precedent. And now you have to pay that 10 cents every time, and it accumulates. And what happens later when you become more comfortable admitting your truth, then the person says, well, that's not what you told me before. And then you have to say, I know, I was lying to pacify you. Well, now when are you lying to me? I don't even think that my not lying is the huge moral decision. It's just, I've already experienced people not liking me. The people then don't like me, then don't watch the podcast. So now here I am in a world where you either have to be quiet or you have to lie, because anybody who plays the middle is opposed by both sides. And I have to have an equally strong stance on trans people using a bathroom as I do about face masks, as I do about abortion, as I do about police brutality. And I'm not allowed to voice confusion or question about some of the politics, policies, and perspective of which is necessary to truly understand it, out of fear that, well, you have influence, so you shouldn't have said that. But by the way, by saying that, I'm acknowledging the tweet that I made the other day, which was, it sucks that our only two choices are these two old men, Trump and Biden. Obviously vote for Biden, 100% vote for Biden, but fuck me, that sucks. And it's like, well, now you're putting out there, well, the lesser of two evils debate, which is what made Trump win in the first place. And I understand that, but my point is not about the lesser of two evils. There's only one evil. There's only one evil, and that's Trump. But can't I still acknowledge that I'm not in love with Biden? I'm in love with getting Trump out of office. I'm in love with the fact that Biden is going to have other people, women, diversity, people who believe in science at the least, to where it's a no-brainer. But if I go out here and just shove shit in your face, there's an agenda behind it that just doesn't feel comfortable to me. Not knowing something isn't the problem, but knowing something for sure when it just ain't so, that's the problem. It's also Mark Twain, paraphrased. I want to be okay not knowing something, and I want you, the public, to be okay with that for yourself and with me. And this shit with Chris is complicated, and I don't understand everything, both the facts and my opinion, and that's why I haven't been wanting to talk about it. I also have a very strong stance on not speaking about other people's business. Now, that's a gray area there because some things involve more than one person's business, but I don't know, man. I'm turned off by some of the messages that I saw him write. I'm turned off by some of the messages that I saw them write. And I'm turned off by some of the tweets I'm seeing from people who I would always see kissing his ass and talking to him and wanting to be friends with him. And then right away tweeting, I never liked him. I never thought he was funny. I got no problem with you not liking somebody, thinking they're not funny. But just the pride and the need to make it about themselves and to jump out there, you know, to attack somebody for right or wrong. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the psychology of it. To go out there and it's like being too scared to fight somebody, but once somebody they're holding that person's hands behind their back, they'll take punches and jabs at them. And I'm going to get shit for saying that because it's like, well, it's not easy to stand up. I'm not talking about the women who are coming with the fear of the things that happen to them. That's a horrible thing, and we need to listen to them. And I do, and I have, and my perspective in the past few years has changed drastically. Not in my opinion changing on women, but just my eyes being open to the struggles and the oppression and the just the patriarchy that happens. It's fucking disgusting and horrible. And as we talk about on the podcast, a lot of the female comedians that have been coming out and been talking about their stories, it's so important that they're heard. But that doesn't change the fact that there's other people that are just virtue signaling, saying, he's always looked like this, so that's why I don't like him. Why didn't you say it before? You weren't scared before of losing your job. You just wanted to be friends with him. All of that is gross to me. Listen, I'm guilty of it. I want desperately to be friends with Blake Griffin, you know? I know what it's like to want to be around popular people, and when people think somebody's cool, maybe they think you're cool through association. But man, seeing people do it right away before they knew anything, the virtue signaling, we need to do better. We got to do better. It's getting in the way of the real stories and the real action. And for the people who are on the opposite end of it, it makes us look like fucking, pardon my, I would say French, but I believe it's English, twats. We got to do better. We got to do better. Yeah, then do better. Then go do better. Don't sing about it. Don't make it black and white and... Everyone's talking about all of it. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows what you're supposed to do. But in case there's any confusion, the only thing I do know is for things to change in the world, people in power have to change them. And to get those people in power, you have to vote for them. So if I were to make one stance on what it is that we need to do, and I know it's boring, and I know you don't want to do it, and I know what's one vote. Register if you're not. Vote for Biden, because when you vote for a third party, they're not winning. A vote for anybody other than Biden is a vote for Trump, and he needs to be out of office. That's all I know. That's all I know. That, and obviously subscribe and click the bell. A distant second, but a second. Anyway, that was the first half of the podcast, was the intro, and scoot doo, bubbity blue. Scoot doo. Bubbity blue. The intro. Scoop dee. Oh yeah. So basically, put on the shoes, step out. Yes, thank you.
I didn't know I had these on.
You want me to get them?
They're in my car. I'm just not gonna wear them.
I made coffee. You sure you don't want any?
Yeah, I'm good. It's actually warm out here.
It's cold in here. I got the AC on. What'd you say? So, Erik, welcome. You are officially the first guest that I've had 4 appearances with.
Oh.
So, thank you for being a favorite of the show.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good, I guess.
Yeah.
This is like, like you have to just know you, be a friend of yours to really grasp and understand the complexity of what has happened between you calling me yesterday to do this and me being out here on your balcony.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
that's very true. We spoke yesterday on the phone, and for whatever reason, if you goblins, this is your first time seeing Erik on here. Erik is mean as shit to me.
No, Mike.
No.
Really?
No. Your comedy brand is just a little ball busting, and that's great.
Wow. My comedy brand. Okay.
Yeah, I would say if you were a superhero, you wouldn't be Captain Marvel. You would be Hulk. But, talking to you, our relationship, we've talked about this on, I think, your podcast.
Yeah.
Our relationship over the years has could you tell me, I don't want to speak for you, even though I remember what you've told me.
Uh-huh.
Your opinion of me from 10 years ago to now has been...
Oh, it's different.
Yeah, but I think it's grown.
Well, yeah, but it has to grow when you get to know someone a little better. I mean, when you have someone who is like OCD or all the stuff that you got going on, and you don't tell people that, people don't know, and they're just interacting with you the way you are, it would drive anybody crazy,
Yeah.
But being privy to and opening up and being like, well, hey, this is what's going on with me. Then it's up to me. It's my choice. I say, okay, I choose then to be friends with Rick.
Mm-hmm.
And if I choose that, then I say that means I make a contract that I accept all of your quirks. And then they don't bug me as much.
Yeah, I noticed that yesterday when I called you, because this is your 4th time on, but first time when it's been in the balcony
Quarantine.
series,
Yeah,
you know? And
the balcony. It sounds like a daytime soap opera.
I had to market it to make it digestible to people who aren't like me, you know?
The balcony series.
Take your shoes off is the same thing as the balcony series.
Yeah,
oh, that's
yeah.
catchy, but really it means don't do this.
No, it's actually added. It's like take your shoes off and take your ass to the balcony. It's
And
really
then put your shoes back on.
Yeah.
But don't let your socks touch the outside.
Yeah, it's just a whole thing, you know. And so when I was doing all this, I thought to myself, man,
I know.
how many people want to put up with this?
Not many. It's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, they have their own things of not wanting to come over for their own reasons.
Yeah. Of
But
course.
then once I get them to agree to come over, then I say, great. Now here's the thing, and I have what's it called? An addendum.
Yeah.
So when I called you yesterday to explain, Eric, listen, you're going to the doctor. I don't like doctor clothes. I'm not going to tell you to shower, but if you're going to walk through, I'm going to need you to wear a mask and take your shoes off. I don't want to bore the audience with the rules of how to take the shoes off, but it's actually I'm going to bore them with it, and it's
crazy.
It's truly interesting to me. This is a great starting point for this. How something that's so intuitive to me is not only not intuitive to you or to most typical people, they don't even understand it when I explain it. So I'm going to explain to the audience, and you could hear me, what the rule is. So basically, I don't want the outside shoes touching the inside world. So the way to do that is the shoes never touch the inside. But that means the socks that are touching the inside, the socks can't touch the outside. It's simple. As I said to you when you walked in, the floor is hot lava. The outside is hot lava. So I have a mat. When you walk in, you just step with your shoes on the mat, you take your shoes off, and you step off. It's simple. But people are stepping on the mat, taking the shoes off, and then putting their foot on the mat or on the outside carpet to get the other shoe off. And it's like cross-contamination. Don't we get it? You can't wear a glove, touch dirty things, and then touch your phone and think your phone didn't get it. We'll be right back with our sponsors, Phone Soap.
Yeah, I'm surprised. You don't have a
Oops.
I can't even say the word.
Do it again. Start with I'm surprised.
Decontamination center set up right there where you have to come in and there's we're being sprayed. It's like a little outbreak, you know what I mean? You have to you are being decontaminated.
But that then messes with my I don't like chemicals side, I have been reaching out to because with the position that our podcasts are at, we're not being thrown sponsors.
Yeah.
So you gotta, I don't know what your game is, but my girlfriend and we were reaching out to brands and things that we like.
Yeah.
And the ones that she has been talking, you should reach out to these people. They've been cleaning supplies, therapy, people that deal with compulsiveness.
It's a good idea. You should have
Great idea.
OCD sponsors. I get it.
I want to have my iRobot Roomba as my co-host vacuuming up the carpet the entire time. Just the whole episode is...
With the guest shoes on top.
I asked you, and I would love if you have a more descriptive answer, how you doing? And I don't know if I've ever asked a guest that, because I think I've spoken with you. I don't like that question, but
I don't. Well, I don't know. I think the last time I was on, we got a little deep about a lot of stuff. But
we spoke about your mom and the dementia.
But for me, right now, it's just a lot going on. I mean, I think the world is crazy. When you talk about the coronavirus stuff. So we had that, and that was sweeping the nation, and all the things that have to do with that. About quarantine, about wearing a mask, and now you have people. You got the mask police out there who are just constantly on your shit about how you should wear a mask, and it's okay, I get it. I wear a mask when I go inside. I'm not wearing a mask in my car. I'm not going to wear a mask when I'm walking down the street and I want to get some fresh air. You know what I mean? If I see people coming towards me, I walk away from them. I take a wide berth to get away from people. But it's mind your business. You know what I mean?
It is everyone's business.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
No, but I think people are too intrusive about it. I think it's okay. There's a time and place and a way you could talk to somebody about this.
Do you have an first-hand experience?
Well, I just see all these videos on the internet of how people are just going crazy. And I get it. Look, this is what people want. That sign in a store that says we reserve the right to serve whoever we want. People forget that's a real thing. People think they have a right to walk into Target. People think they have a right to walk into any restaurant. They don't. The people that own the restaurant could be like, nah, I'm sorry, I don't want to serve you today. They can do that. That's what that sign is for. But then we live in this kind of like culture where people then will be like, well, you didn't want me to come in because you're racist or because you're whatever. And it's like, no. So one of the reasons now is going to be, if you don't have a mask, you can't come into my establishment. And I think we should respect that. Okay.
Are you for the idea of the collective in this virus state of the need of masks?
I don't know the science. I'm not a scientist, so I don't.
But the science is easy. This isn't anything new. The science is easy. If you are
I get it. I understand the principles of it. I understand the principles.
You know that if you're infected, you have a lesser chance of infecting other people if you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, I understand that.
What else is there?
Yeah, but I'm saying like there also a school of thought that we also could have like a what is it like we could all get over this together. If
you're saying herd immunity.
Herd immunity too. So there's a school of thought for that also.
But look at the rest of the world and how their numbers are going down while our numbers are going up. And they have been practicing this and we have not been.
Well, I don't know. I think that they weren't practicing at first. That's why a lot of places...
Let's remove the variable of at first before people knew what was going on. Just looking at mid-March, April. Let's say April and May. Mm-hmm. And all of these countries have been taking proper protocol. We haven't. We're the ones that are...
Not everywhere, for sure.
I'll put it up. I'll put it up on YouTube. Yeah. I posted on Instagram.
We also have more people than all these places combined.
No, we don't have more people than all these places.
Like in Europe, if you're talking about a country that has, we have over 350 million people here.
Listen, the statistics are showing per 1,000 people, so it's not just numbers; it's percentages. And the graph that I've already put up, I'll put up again, or I won't. It depends on how long this takes to edit. Is that the U.S. numbers are doing this, while the collective is doing this. And we also have been having riots and people who are, I guess the most political way I could say this is...
the riot people are in and out. No, it's the peaceful protests. Those are they're walking for miles and miles and miles together, and they're sitting down together, and they're like, let's not just make it about the riot. The riot people, you're running into the store and you're out, you're in your car, you're gone. I would venture to say that person's not getting corona.
Yeah, you're right. More the peaceful protests.
Okay.
But that's where and what we were talking about on the phone, and I want to tap into a little bit or a lot with you, is what's so confusing is because for me to say, and this is a hyperbolic statement, but the math applies all around to everything that's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. For me to say the people who are protesting who aren't wearing masks, they're really fucking it up for us. There are going to be people who are being like, oh, you don't believe in the protests?
I know.
And there's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. And I don't know if this is a pun, but it's definitely not intended. It's not that black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, I had this. I tweeted about this myself and got all kinds of flack from idiots. Because I was saying I'm not for the peaceful protests. If you're not wearing a mask and you're just out there close quarters, not keeping social distance, that you're at risk. The people that are rioting, my thing about that is like they're arresting you. If you get arrested, you have more chance now, even higher chance of getting this corona, because they're taking the masks from people. You think the police at that point are worried about your health after what you've been doing?
Unfortunately, because of how important this movement is, Black Lives Matter, people are, as a whole, and by action, I can't speak for everyone, just but by the action that's happening, have this mentality of the virus of police brutality is more dangerous than the coronavirus. And I'll agree to that. I mean, I don't know. I at least understand it, right? But it doesn't mean that they don't both exist. And when people are protesting and saying, fuck it, I'm not wearing a mask because this is more important, you could protest and wear the mask.
Yeah, it's just... Anyway, I'm not surprised by the numbers rising because of the places that were already open. There were places that like never closed. There were a lot of places that were just like, yeah, we're fine. And then because of all of this, all of the protesting that's been going on, people being in close quarters, I mean, I'm not surprised. It's been like a month now. And so, our numbers are rising. And so, and I agree with you. I think, and then, and having a platform like this, like being on podcasts and having your own podcast, it's like the George Floyd situation happened. And then people had this attitude of like, well, if you don't talk about Black Lives Matter, if you don't talk about George Floyd, then you know what you are? You're a racist. In the same way, and we don't have to get into this, but in the same way of like, if you don't talk about what's happening in Hollywood, if you don't talk about Chris D'Elia, it means you're for
right.
You're for this.
I would love to. Let's get into that for a second. But I would love to tell you.
And what I'm saying, there's a parallel between the two.
You're saying the human psychology parallel.
The human psychology parallel of that, of like, okay, if you're a white person and you have a podcast or you have a Twitter or you have a social media following and you didn't put up some Black Lives Matter, if you didn't do it, I don't think you're a racist. I think it's case by case. It's a nuanced subject. It's like people are going to get on you whether you talk about it or not. And it's the same thing with this. I mean, you have all this pressure. You have all these people tweeting and talking about it and saying like, all the male comedians are silent. So in the same way that if you're a white male
LA comedian,
I'm just saying if you're a white male, you cannot, if you don't talk about the white male cops killing black people, you're now racist.
Yeah.
In the same way that I'm a male comedian, and just because I haven't like voiced my opinion about the current situation, it doesn't mean I'm supportive of women being treated like shit.
And
by the way, you can go fuck yourself if you think that. That's how I feel about it.
It's the Black Lives Matter thing and what's happening with in Hollywood with the comedians right now. There is a similar human psychology to it. I want to tell you my opinion of one big difference, and then I want to get into the similarities.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my opinion of the difference is, if like you said, if you're a white male and you don't post about Black Lives Matter and police brutality, there are many ways to show and advocate support.
Yes.
That is one way that I think is very powerful. My Instagram, that's where I'm most social, is Instagram.
Yeah.
I've been sharing a lot of stories because when I see something that affects me, my intention is I want other people to see this.
I get it.
It's just the virtue signaling turns me off.
Yes,
I
agree.
The black box turned me off from the beginning because
me too. And I put one up, and I was like, if I'm being honest about it, I felt pressure. Like I just felt like some kind of social pressure of being like, I'm mixed race, I'm part black, and I felt like, oh my God, how do I want to talk about this? And you just feel this pressure from people, and I regret that. But then I thought about it later, and I was like, you know what? Let me put up something different, how I feel.
Yeah.
And I found a great quote from Martin Luther King, and I was like, this is how I feel. And I put that up, and then I still got hate. I still got people.
Yeah.
I got this one guy that hits me up on my Instagram. I had to. I restricted.
Let's shout him out.
I restricted him.
Oh, never mind.
No. I restricted him because he's coming across as racist. He's an all lives matter type white guy. Mm-hmm. Like he wants to, every other day he's sending me something about, well, look at, this is wrong. And look what's the Black Lives Matter movement is causing this and that. And I just go, why are you putting that energy on me? Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why part for me is like, it's more nuanced. And I don't think just putting some 140 characters, what happened?
Happens all the fucking time, man. That's why I keep checking.
Oh.
I hate to complain about my cameras when we're talking about the world on fire, but how come no one's talking about this?
You have to plug it back in. You kicked it or something. My thing is all, there we go. There you go. Whatever you just did, it fixed it.
Anyway.
But anyways, I'm just saying these discussions are more nuanced than a Instagram post. It's more nuanced than that, and I think that just because, I don't know, it's just, it bothers me. Everything that's happening, it bothers me. It's like not getting all of it. The coronavirus, how we're handling it, how we're dealing with it, how we're interacting with each other, the lack of information, the lack of leadership that we're getting from the federal government about they seem to be in odds with each other. It's just everything. It just drives me bananas. And then now this thing with the police brutality and like how we're dealing with that and because to me it's like when I saw some like white people on Instagram, this group of white people going, we renounce our white privilege, and I thought to myself, no one gives a fuck about.
Also, you're not renouncing. You can't renounce it.
And by
That's
the way,
the problem.
It's like I don't want to hear from regular white people. Like
Also, do you want to hear from the celebrity white people?
Exactly. They're just as regular. What I'm saying is, where's the CEO of Coke and Pepsi and these conglomerate companies?
Well, they are doing it in a way that still feels gross to me.
I understand.
When the NFL is saying we stand with black people, it's like, now you do.
Yeah, but I don't mind people changing their mind. I don't mind people going, you know what, we've made mistakes. Like
Right.
Roger Goodell, the commissioner of football, he said we made a mistake and how we dealt with it before, and we're sorry. And okay, good. All right, but at the same time, though, where are the billionaire owners? They're not out front going, yeah.
Because they're not out front for the same reason that other people are out front. It's because they're not scared to be out front. And the problem that I have, and this is what I want to acknowledge, is I think that people need to be sharing these videos and posting about Black Lives Matter, and that's why I'm doing it. The point is, my intention of doing it is because I'm affected by this.
Right.
I see other people are being affected by this. Let's educate, because that's why I'm affected by it. That's my intention.
I get it, but all I'm saying is if you don't do it, it doesn't mean that you're not affected.
Yeah, to an extent. But if you don't do anything, you can't be that affected. That's why I wanted to say is the difference between what's happening with police brutality and what's happening with comedy in LA. Because the stuff that's happening with police brutality, and I think I said this on another podcast, but when Black Lives Matter came around, for me at least the first time, was 2016, I think. And that's when I remember that's when I was seeing people who I've been friends with, like my old high school friends that I'm not even friends with anymore, like people forever that I've known, to close friends, sharing stories, small stories, sharing stories that I've never heard before. And it changed my, am I okay telling you this right now?
Yeah.
It changed my perspective because I had seen Fresh Prince and Full House when they get pulled over and they have to talk to their black dads about this is how it is. And I always thought that was horrible, and that's a TV show. And I've heard about these things. I never realized it was happening all around, and that's my own ignorance.
You sound like I had my big brother from Big Brothers of America. I was a part of the Big Brothers of America program when I was 7 years old. I still know him today. He said that to me when he saw, many years ago, when he saw the Rodney King beating. He saw the Rodney King beating, and he said to me way back then in 92, he said, I didn't think it was real.
Right.
He said, oh, I hear black people talking about this, but it doesn't really happen.
Yeah,
and when he saw that, he was like, oh. And that was when there was no social media. We just had that one video, So I get what you're saying, man.
No, let me finish that thought, please. 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago is when I started seeing this. And when it's happening again now, when it's become, I guess, actually, I don't mean to be degrading when I say this, but trendy to care about this again, I am now seeing it for the second time and seeing people experiencing what I experienced 5 years ago for the first time. And what helped me was seeing these things. So I think if you don't share, you don't help educate, there is a sense of complicity there.
No, I disagree 100%. Just because, I don't agree with you. I don't agree that people should post on the internet. I don't agree.
It doesn't have to be posting on the internet.
No, but that's what I'm talking about.
I'm just saying sharing.
Yeah, but you don't know. What I'm saying is just because you don't see how people are affected by it doesn't mean
same page.
Okay, because that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. It's like, no, I don't agree. I do not think that you have to post on your Instagram, Twitter, and all this stuff as a way of being like, that's the only way that shows that you care.
I agree.
It's the only way that shows that you, that the movements affect you.
I'm saying that by doing nothing. But you don't know what people are doing.
I know, but the implication you're making is if you don't post on the internet, you're doing nothing.
You know what? If I made that, then I'm being misunderstood, and that's not what I meant.
And that's what I'm saying is what people are saying.
Right. But there's a big difference to me about when people are saying you need to be doing something. Being active on social media is one of the approaches.
Yeah,
there's many ways to advocate for this cause. Donations, speaking to family, educating yourself in private so you have more to contribute to the conversation when it's available. Mm-hmm. What's happening with this comedy stuff is different because we are being told you need to speak up about this or. And that I'm getting. You right?
Yeah, it's just somebody smoking, so it's coming
Upstairs.
on me. It's coming to me.
I've been getting messages about this, Chris. And by the way, I think I want this episode to come out in 2 days. So
Gotcha.
shout out to Perry and George for helping me make that happen because these take a long time. So thank you.
Yeah.
But who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 days?
I know this things are happening. So, by the way, can I just say this before
Yes.
we even go into it? Is that that's how I felt about all of this. It's like 1 second I have these episodes where I'm just talking about the coronavirus and I'm talking to my guest about how are you affected by coronavirus
Right.
and what's going on, and then like a week later this George Floyd stuff broke out, and then I had all these episodes where I was like, oh my God, is this gonna be weird to put this out without address?
Yeah.
So it's like weird, like things are happening so fast. I'm not CNN. I'm not Fox News. I'm just like a guy. It's called RIFFIN with Griffin, and I just talk shit with people, and then now it's turning into like I have to be some social advocate for all these things, and it's like, but I also feel, like you say, I do feel some responsibility for it. So I redid a few episodes where I contacted someone, and I was like, hey, we had this one episode, can we do it again? But it just didn't, It didn't necessarily, the timing just wasn't right. So it's like, it's weird. So I'm like stuck right now being like, what should I talk about? How should I talk about it? When should I talk about it?
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's okay for us to acknowledge the truth that is, I want to talk about what I want to talk about. I don't want to have to talk about what people want me to talk about.
Right.
But also acknowledge the fact that we do have, as small as it is, a little bit of an influence, and people listen to us. And what responsibility do we have with that? And the truth is, we're human. I'll speak for myself. I'm human. I don't know. All I could do is check in with my intentions about why I'm doing something. And when that black box stuff came around, whether my judgment was right or wrong, I felt that the only reason I would be doing it is because people would think this if I don't. And I go, fuck that.
Yeah,
that grossed me out, and I'm not posting. I'm a good guy doing what I feel is best, and I may be making mistakes along the way, but I do not want to act in fear because that is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And what's happening with this LA comedy shit is, hold for sound, is
motorcycle.
is we are a tight community, and people think that means we're family.
Right.
And I was on a show with Chris D'Elia for years. I also know Chris D'Elia.
Yeah.
You've known him for a long time. You guys are friends. It's complicated. What's my relationship with Chris? I don't owe that to anybody, but what I can say is I know him. I've asked him to come on the podcast. He hasn't, but he said he would. I think that's a perfect example of what it is. We have each other's numbers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
I know what you mean.
I don't know his life, and that's the point. I don't know him. I don't know him like that. So when people are coming out on Twitter, and even now I'm feeling that pressure and need to make sure that I'm saying, I trust the women, because I do, but I don't want to have to think that by me saying that I don't know Chris's details is then saying I don't trust women.
Right. Dude, it's nuanced. Okay. And I'll say this. Yeah. I haven't been to his new house. He didn't hit me up when he had his baby. You know what I mean? I had to hit him up like, hey, let me see pictures. What I'm saying is like we know each other because like we work together at night. We see each other, but like we don't know everything that goes on in everybody's life.
I think it's also important to not do what I'm seeing so many. And this is why I haven't want to talk about it, but I do want to talk about it with you, so it feels organic and right. But I'm seeing people doing stuff that is disgusting, and I'm going to make a point to over communicate and make it clear. I am in no way backtracking it any way by saying I don't know him like that, because if it was someone else, if it were you or someone I know even more than you, I could still have the same feelings I have now, which is I have not talked to Chris since this stuff happened. I don't know the full details. I felt that way from day one, let alone yesterday now. All these things came out of all the other side of the emails that the girls did not share. I still don't know what's okay and what's not okay.
Right. I totally agree.
But I do know there's more to it than that. And when people come out the next day to say, I always knew he was this or that, and again, I'm over-communicating, making clear, I'm not advocating for or against him.
Right,
I don't know anything. I'm advocating to the truth and the acceptance of the fact that I can admit that I don't have an opinion on it yet. I believe women. I think that it's crazy I have to say this. I'm going to look to camera. I think sex with an underage girl is wrong. Duh. That's not the argument. A couple of tweets came out about him being underage that to me had some holes in them. For example, they said they never even met him. And then all these other tweets about how he's creepy, blah, blah, blah. Sure, saying somebody's creepy is not the same argument as saying they're a pedophile.
Yes.
And I don't know what is what, but to go out and fucking...
Listen, here's my problem too. Let me go on a rant.
Yeah, please.
If the Washington Post put out an article and called someone a rapist, a murderer, a pedophile, if they put that out without facts, they would be liable. They're under certain laws and restrictions. Common person.
They need 2 different sources to post it.
Yeah. It's not like that for the Twitter, but could get the same reach.
Yeah, more viral.
You know, it could be more viral. So I'm with you. So let me say my part now.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris is my friend. Is it okay that I feel bad that my friend is caught up in whether it's his fault or not in this terrible situation?
Mm-hmm.
And can I take a beat?
Yeah, man. Can't
you know what I mean?
Can
I take a beat? Like, it's like, you know, it's like Whitney Cummings. Whitney is good friends with him. She helped make him a star. You know, so at first she had to look at herself and be like, damn, what's going on with my friend? And then she assessed it, and then she made her choice. She was like, I don't agree with this. And she had to that must have been hard for her. Mm-hmm. It must have been hard.
Yeah.
Well, can it be hard for all of us too? Can it be hard for, like, it's like if it was your brother, if it was your cousin, if it was like, you know, it's like it's somebody that you go like, damn, this is terrible. Yeah. And then again, we have to take the word of all these people, all this stuff is coming out, and it's nuanced. You have to take it out and look at it all separately. If he was engaging in improper behavior with underage girls, that's wrong.
Right.
Okay? If that happened, then yes, we're going to but that hasn't been proven.
The tweet for those of you that don't know the tweet that started it all, it was a girl who says that she was 16. She says that Chris knew that she was 16, not because she told him, but because he had her Instagram pictures. And she said that it's a good thing that I had a boyfriend, otherwise he would have sexually molested me. They never met. So something was going on between them, I'm sure. Who knows what it was? They never met. The allegations of sexual molesting somebody when they've never met is a red flag to me because, well, you're speaking in bias now.
Well, they've made it into something else. I mean, listen, I get that. I get what you're saying with that. If that happened, but now it's going before that. Now it's this idea of grooming, you know, which they're saying that he was grooming them. So that's a catch-all for, you know, whatever happened after that. So if you say he groomed me, so when I was 21 and I sent him an email that he just put out, it says, I'm 21 now, DTF, she can now say, well, because he groomed me. So I look at that whole interaction and I go, I don't know if I want to talk about that. Even though we're talking about it now, I'm saying, I don't know if I want to see all this information and then go on my podcast and be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And if because I didn't do that, fuck you for telling me that I'm against.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not for women. And now I have to go on another little thing here for myself. Now personally, he's a lightning rod for a bigger issue right now. And this idea of misogyny and how we treat women. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair discussion, but it's separate from him. I mean, I have to look at myself and be in my own behavior. I have to look at myself and be like, damn, you know, I was a weird, odd guy, still am. You know, didn't get into comedy till I was 30 years old. Did not have a lot of experience with, and this is not an excuse. I'm just giving you my my mindset. So then I start getting on TV and start doing stuff, and then women are now talking to me in a way that they've never talked to before. And I've said a lot of crazy shit on the road. I've said things in the DMs to people I shouldn't have said. You know, I've been like,
now, how do you know you shouldn't have said it now?
I'll tell you why.
Are you saying you think you might have, or you know you have?
No, I'm saying I know I have. But what I'm saying is this, is like not every interaction you have. This is what I'm coming to realize from this thing is as a man, not every interaction you have with a woman has to be sexual. Or it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like, you know, you don't have to flirt all the time. You don't have to like, because even if you're attracted to somebody, it doesn't mean that, oh, this is an in. Now I'm attracted to you, so this means I get to say whatever I want.
Are you saying this is a realization of yours now?
Yeah. This is what I'm realizing from when you hear women's stories.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear a woman just say, even in my own life, even if I was talking to someone and then later they go, well, you know, you made me uncomfortable. And then you go, oh man, that wasn't my intention. It doesn't matter if it was your intention or not. It was like, you know, if you took it to a place that was not, you know, and I'm the kind of guy where it's weird because I got to flirt. That's the only way. Even my current girlfriend, when I look at our DM messages of how we got together, I go, damn, she could have easily been like, oh, this is, you're creepy.
Yeah, it's
you know?
only creepy if they're not interested. And it's a fine line. How do you know if they're interested without approaching?
But this is, right, exactly. Now for me, too, if I have a move that works 3 out of 10 times, as a guy, you go, shit, that's Hall of Fame in baseball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, I know
as long as your move isn't sending a dick.
Right. But I disagree with you. Because that is some people's move.
But
let me finish my fucking point. Now, what I'm saying is, that's my point about it. No matter what you say or what you do that works 3 out of 10 times, it just means that 7 out of 10 times, you probably made somebody uncomfortable. And that's the more important number. So that's what I'm coming to realize. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, damn, oh yeah, I've been on the road, and I've said this I've been like, hey, what's up, girl? You come to my room. I remember one of my dumb lines would be like, I can't leave this town till I eat your pussy.
We'll be right back with a word from our sponsors.
God, this podcast is going to make me look like
You always talk about your penis
Why
on
am I
your
spitting?
podcast.
What else am I going to talk about? What else do I have?
You have a lot of things.
I have a penis and a funny mother, and right now both of them are soft.
That was a good one. I went, Daddy,
I bet I know what you're
69
thinking. You're thinking, what's going on here? There's Rick's girlfriend, there's Rick's mom, they're on a couch, they're chatting, they look like they're having a good time. It's probably hilarious. Well, I got good news for you.
We all sit down. My dad divides up their French fries. They drink their little soda with their 2 fucking straws.
As opposed
I have my...
This is an episode where my mom and Betty met for the first time back in October. It's a full-length episode with all the edits that you've come to love and adore being a Glassman Bopper / TYSO Goblin. And on Patreon, we're going to be posting exclusive episodes every month. But that's not all you'll get on Patreon. Not only will there be exclusive monthly episodes, you'll also get live Q&As, shout out from me on the podcast, exclusive gear like the Goblin Gang sweatshirt. We also have a Discord community where I'm in there pretty much every day chatting with my goblins. And there's a lot of other things. If you want to see what is available, go to patreon.com/takeyourshoesoff. Or if you're on YouTube, click that exclamation point in the upper right and scoot do bubbity blue.
I'm just saying it's like, you know, you have these things you say and do that you think like, oh, this is okay. And what these women are coming out and letting you know is like, it's like, this is not okay. Like, it's not okay. There's a way. And to me, it boils down to the same issue with the George Floyd, the same issue with misogyny and how we treat women. We got to be nicer to people. We have to be respectful of people. And that's what I realized. And so I'm looking at myself and I'm being like, damn, have I been disrespectful to like, even like female comics? Like young female comics are beautiful and whatnot. And then, you know, you're flirting with them at the club. It's inappropriate.
Yeah.
You know, why? Because they're there to do the same thing we're doing, you know? And you just go, you know, it's so... I somewhat agree with you, a part of like when these women are now sharing their stories and they're going like, this is what's happened to me. It's hard for me to be at the club. I'm the only woman on the lineup. And this has happened to me before. A guy said this to me. And I go, damn.
Yeah.
What side am I on?
Yeah.
Which, and I realize I have been on the wrong side. And that's what I'm going to own for myself. And this is separate from Chris D'Elia. And this is the reason why you have to take some time to think about these things.
Yeah.
I don't agree with any sort of bad behavior, but we got to look at ourselves and be like, damn. Because here's the thing, too, is like I said, I didn't know. Here's what I know. I know that he's an A-type personality male that gets with a lot of women because they're always around. All right. I'm talking about, I've never not seen him like, you know, in the past where like there's girls always trying to get with him.
Yeah.
I haven't been to one city doing comedy.
I heard you know what you're going to say.
Okay. And I've talked to a girl that doesn't ask about Chris D'Elia.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I've never been to one city when a girl was around me.
No, no. But I'm saying like he's the health place that I just came from, you know, I just got some blood drawn to check my numbers for like vitamin D and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. One of the girls there, she goes, oh, you're a comic. And she's like, when I first went there, she said, oh, do you know Chris D'Elia? I'm just saying, the dude's popular. Okay, I'm not going to speak for him. I'm just going on what his own words were. He let the lifestyle get out of hand.
Yeah.
All right? That's not enough for some people, and I get that. But you have to understand, when you're being accused of what he's being accused of.
You're saying the pedophile thing.
Yes. Your words have to be measured. You can't just come out and be like, your words have to be measured. It has to be nuanced because he's being accused of a terrible crime. But what I'm saying is, he is admitting to, letting the lifestyle get out of hand. And he should have been nicer to some of these women.
Yeah.
When I read some of these stories, one of the stories was, he made me feel like I was special, and I drove from Texas to California to be with him, and he treated me like shit. Now, we might hear that and go, what? How did he make you feel special?
Oh, I understand that one.
You know what I mean? What I'm saying though is this. Like, that's where he could have been nicer. If that story's true, if the facts of that story are true, and he coaxed this girl to come here, but let me make a point about this. Unfortunately, we have to tell young black kids, we have to tell them, hey, if you have an interaction with the police, the white man with badges and guns and real power and authority, you have to act this way with them. It's not right that we have to do that. But we do. Mm-hmm. We do. Black fathers got to sit down with their kids and go, listen, when you're with the cops, don't do this, act this way, act this way, act this way, because it might go south. Mm-hmm. Then we have to also tell young women too, just because a dude has a blue check mark and hits you up in the DMs, it don't mean you're special.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and
it's unfortunately that we have to say that.
Yeah,
and shame on us. Shame on the men with the blue check marks who hitting up people who are like, "Oh, I really love you on your show," and then like we take that and turn that into what we've turned it into.
Eric, let me say, draw attention to something that you've said. I think I love everything you're saying and agree with you. And you said something that contradicted. Maybe it didn't contradict. I want to highlight something, which is you're right. And women or men, if it's from a woman with a blue check, but that's not what we're talking about. I understand that. But just the idea of influence from celebrity in general. Yeah. People need to be told that. But it also, and I know you did say this in different words, we, like you said, also need to be told that that's how they're hearing it. Like you said, you're now thinking about those 7 out of 10. Yeah. And I think that was a beautiful observation, and I agree entirely. The overall psychology is human beings need to understand that we are responsible for ourselves.
Right.
However, there are people that can control us, whether it's the police when they actually have law and physically controlling us, and then the idea, which is not as powerful, the idea of influence.
Yeah, no, listen, and I totally agree with you. Like, I guess I know we have to constantly check ourselves right now because people will take a clip and turn it into something that it's not. But yes, like I said, it's a shame that we have to tell black kids this about the cops.
Yeah.
It's because there are cops that are.
So you're saying it's a shame that we have to tell it? Yeah.
It's a shame that we have to tell.
But
this to young women. But I'm speaking for me. I'm speaking to the men out there just to be like, look, it's case by case. It's nuanced. It's case by case. It's like, I don't know, I remember I was doing I just did I'm Dying Up Here, and they had like the lawyer come in because what's going on?
Sorry about that. It's just, it's annoying. I just always have to check every 10 minutes.
Well, with the Me Too movement, when it first came on, and then if you were on a set, they had like an HR person come in and they had a whole talk about things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always I took from it was when the lady said, it's hard to prove sexual harassment, right? Mm-hmm. But you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
And
it's like racism.
It's like, and also pornography too. It's like when someone goes like, you go, oh, that's pornographic. And you go, porno when you see it, even though you can't explain it, And I feel the same way it is with I
understand that better for racism and sexual harassment.
Well, what I'm saying is like if you have like an art book and it has a naked boy, statue of a naked boy, someone could come to you and be like, oh, this is pornographic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And you'd be like, well, no, it's not. It's an art book.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like, or if like,
I understand. I think everyone understands. Okay. Let's move past it.
Okay. But anyways, all I'm just saying is that So you know it when you see it. So it has to be case by case. It can't just be like, oh, it's your pattern of behavior. Because, if you're like, again, with my current girlfriend, our whole story was she hit me up. She didn't hit me up. She liked 3 of my pictures. And
as a guy, you go, who's this liking me?
And 3 of my pictures, and then friended me. Yeah. And I was like, I saw that, and I was like, well,
game over.
Yeah, you just said you want me.
Right. And also, before you move forward, and it's funny, I want to acknowledge that is guys who want someone to speak for them now, and girls who may not know this, for better or worse, that is how it works. When a girl, when I'm feeding the meter. I remember this at the comedy store. I remember I was feeding the meter, and then 2 girls were walking by, and I was walking this way, they were walking this way. I fed the meter, and they both turned and looked at me and smiled. I thought to myself,
oh, they down to fuck.
I think they might want to fuck me. Now, that doesn't mean they do want to fuck me, and that doesn't mean I was going to say, give me your numbers, you twats, or whatever the disrespectful shit is.
Right.
But the mind is wired because we don't get, speaking for myself, every girl doesn't look at me when I fill a meter. It doesn't really happen.
Bro.
So when it happens...
You think?
So when it happens, you think to yourself, this girl wants to fuck me. How you act on that is different than the psychology, but just understand, like you said, if you didn't think that, you might not have reached out to her.
Right. But here's the thing.
Amen, brother.
Right. So I reach out, and then we have the initial interaction. I'm thinking back on it now. It's like, I could have been way more respectful.
Would you be able to talk about what you said that you thought?
Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, there was a moment of being like, well, like, I didn't use these words, but basically, like, can I see some pictures? You know what I mean? After, like, the interaction was kind of like whatever.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it was like the way she handled me, I was like, oh, dope. And
how'd she handle you?
Just by saying, like, no, you don't just get pictures right away.
Yeah, that's 2 people flirting the same way.
Thank you.
Same frequency.
And so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what I'm saying is it could go completely wrong. It could go completely wrong. It could go, but like, I can't believe you were saying. But what I'm saying is that's not on her. It's still on me. Like I had this other, I've talked about this on other podcasts. I want to talk about it here because it's prevalent to this conversation. Rachel and I had like a breakup. We broke up for almost a year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But just getting back together. But in that time, I'm flirting. I'm on Tinder. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I saw this girl on Tinder. She was young. You know what I mean? She must be like 18, 19 years old, whatever, in that range, 18 to 20, So they have their Instagram. So I hit her up on Instagram, and I'm like, hey, she was an artist. She had art. So I used that as an in. It was stupid. I was like, oh, nice art, blah, blah, blah. Then I started saying.
Did you like the art?
Yeah, it was fine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't buy it, but it was fine. But anyways, the conversation went awry because of me, She got super upset at me. Her friend got involved. You're a bozo. I remember her friend called me a bozo, which was I thought, what a great use of a word that describes in a way that's not being vulgar.
Yeah.
I was being a bozo.
It's not pornographic.
I was being a creep. You know what I mean? I apologized to the girl too. I was like, you know what? You're right. This was, if I made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. I should have, I took a shot, and I missed. You know what I mean? So what this lends itself to is we need to go back, and it has to be a pattern of behavior that's ingrained in us about respecting women, and it has to start way earlier. In the same way the black community it's the same thing. It's very similar psychology, like you like to say. But like how we treat women, how we look at women, how we think about them, and hearing their experiences, this has woken me up in a way that like, even before this even happened, the Chris D'Elia and all this, before this even came out like this, I was already on a different mindset just because my girl is telling me her experiences. Yeah,
that's what the Me Too movement, when it first came out, did. It changed my perspective entirely.
Yeah.
There was something that was said, and I don't remember if Dax Shepard said it. I know he said it. I don't know if he was paraphrasing, so I don't know where the credit goes, but it was something basically like this idea of women physically fearing for their safety that we can't necessarily sympathize with.
Yes.
And was explaining, I think he said something about, imagine going to an elevator with, he said, a gorilla or a strong, aggressive, whatever it is, someone that could kill you with their hands. And I never thought of it like that.
I know.
And like this idea of...
And the gorilla goes like this, hey, what's up?
yeah, and you have to to be like, here's some food or whatever to pacify.
Totally agree. like I said, I'm not condoning anyone's behavior. I'm just speaking for myself. Because I remember one time I was in Baltimore and like, you know, this weird club. And anyway, the waitress that was in the green room, you know, I was flirting with her, you know. Didn't know till later she was uncomfortable. And she was responding. And it wasn't until at the end when I'm about to leave and I go, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
How did you find out?
Because the manager came to talk to me about it, and then like she had this weird boyfriend who was like a strip club bouncer, and he was acting up. You know what I mean? So I was like, wait, what's going on here? And then I said to her, because she was responding a certain way. And
Meaning you felt she was interested.
Yes, you know, it was like the way it was fun, whatever, you know. And even if like, by the way, there's a certain like courting procedure where it's like they're not gonna just say yes right away. There is a little bit of coyness, and so like for somebody like me, that could turn into like, oh hey dude, she don't like you at all, to oh we're flirting.
Yeah.
Anyways, at the end of it, I'm apologizing to her, and she basically was saying to me like, well she wanted to get her tip, and I was like, why didn't you just say something? And that's when she said, she was like, well, I didn't know what you were going to do. And I was like, oh, so you thought I wasn't going to tip you? And I go, damn.
And whose fault is that?
But I go, and what I'm saying is, that's why that situation isn't about that. Like once you're already in it, you're already in it. It goes back to like, I got to be professional.
Right. You're saying there's time and place where you're allowed to flirt.
There's a time and place. And what I'm saying is, have I personally blurred the lines of time and place with like females in comedy? Yes. I acknowledge that, and I apologize for that because I didn't see it how it is until this very moment. And it doesn't even matter if they respond. It doesn't even matter if they're flirting back.
Right.
I've made it into that situation, and it doesn't need to be that situation.
Now, question for you, because that's always a difficult thing for me. I've talked about my podcast many times, and I stand with my feelings on this. When I got kicked out of a basketball game once because some of the guys didn't like playing with me because I played too aggressive, and the guy who runs the game had to tell me. If those guys told me, I would have known and would have guarded them different. I come from a school of you play as hard as you possibly can. It's not just an exercise thing to me. What's the difference? The difference is being in a setting of power. All of these guys are comedy writers who are way more powerful than me. They weren't scared of me. So when you're in a situation where somebody's scared, whether they're scared for their safety, they're scared for their work, they're scared they're not going to get a tip, it's not that black and white, but I think there needs to be a dialogue, whether it's you, or let's not say you, the comedian, right? If I am going into a green room and I see a girl that I want to flirt with, do I know I'm not allowed to do it because it's not professional? Or is there a way of doing what I did to you on the phone before you came over and express the intentions directly and said, I don't want to make you, but it's weird, to do that when you're flirting, but to say something like, I'm interested in you, but I'm not sure if it's appropriate to flirt with you.
And what I'm saying is it's just not appropriate.
Right, so you just never do it.
Yeah, what we're learning is there's situations where it's not appropriate. And by the way, I disagree with you on something. Those guys didn't want to tell you because maybe they know you a little bit. Maybe they know that you're not someone that they don't want to get into the discussion with you because of how you react to things. And it's easier just to be like, oh, the OCD dude who plays too hard, and we don't want to get into that with him, so we're going to go do it this way.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not blind to it. It's not that I'm right and they're wrong. I just think I think the way they handled it was immature. There's a difference, and also let me make something clear. There's a difference between me going to you, Eric, and saying about our mutual friend, hey man, so and so, whenever they do my podcast, they're blah blah blah. I don't really like it. Would you say something to them? I don't feel safe or comfortable doing it. Versus what happened, which is they went to, these guys who have been in this game for 20 years with him, and they're his age, older. They said, hey man, I'm not coming to the game anymore if Rick comes. And it's like, hold on a second. There's a step
There's
before
other
that.
steps.
The step to that is, if they didn't want to talk to me directly, which I do disagree with, but that's my opinion, and I understand what you're saying. Not everybody is like that.
Yeah.
You could just say, could you please let Rick know that it's not all about winning for me. You know what I'm saying?
I know, and then I'm just taking the other side just to like, because I'm comparing it to this other situation, is sometimes people are just like, it's like, damn, now I have to step outside and be uncomfortable to deal with this one person.
Yeah.
So in the same way, what I'm saying is like, it's like the girl's like, can I just come to work and not have everybody try to fuck me?
That's why I feel. That's why.
You know what I mean?
That's where the case by case is. I think there's. I think that's where the case by case is. I think that's why I'm asking you. I've never flirted with a waitress before. I've never. I don't think that's another. That's where I am. Where yours is going back. What were my 7 out of 10? Mine are. I flirt with you. You know what I'm saying? Like I do. Like I flirt with.
Just a weird guy.
That's just my communication.
No, but Rick, I understand, but that has nothing to do with necessarily what we're talking about. I'm talking about there's different levels, and so now we're in a state of like everybody's uncomfortable. And just to take it back again, I'm not speaking for Chris, but I understand hurt feelings.
Whose feelings are you talking about?
I'm talking about all these women who are coming out with these stories.
Yeah.
I understand, because a lot of the stories too are like, this happened to my friend, and they want to tell their story, and it's like they talk about this like, so it's like, could he have been nicer to the multitude of women who were like enamored with him? Obviously.
The main point of what we're bringing up, and I don't want to run away from this because I think there's a bigger conversation. What you're saying, no buts about it. And if there is a nice butt, I still don't even want to look at it. It's not my business. But what I'm saying is, the difference,
not without consent.
the difference in accusation, and I still don't know anything. I don't know if he did or if he didn't, and I want to make that clear. I'm neither defending him nor am I saying that he's wrong. I'm saying because I don't know, and I'm closer to him than these strangers on the internet. Why do other people know this one small but big detail? Pedophile, asshole. Like
all pedophiles are assholes?
Yeah.
But not all assholes are pedophiles.
It's the square rectangle debate. You know
what I mean?
And for people that don't know what that is, I always think about this in this way, which is all squares are rectangles, but all rectangles aren't squares. Mm-hmm. You have four 90-degree angles, you're a rectangle. But if they're not all even sides, you're not a square. And I think about that because it's like it cannibalizes certain points. Like when I'm, especially the girl comedians that are coming out now, and hearing those stories, some of which I've heard, some of which I haven't. It's like fuck me. That's horrible.
I know.
While the ones that are coming out that are saying, just by looking at him, you could tell he's a pedophile. When they don't know it,
fuck off.
You're getting it's noise. Yeah. You're getting in the way of stories that matter.
Yeah.
And when I'm hearing these girls talk about things that are specific and their feelings, not judgments and opinions of what would have happened if they did meet.
Yeah.
That's where I am, where you are, which is, we've known before this. We have known that female comedians have a harder time than guys. Everyone has their own obstacles. It's case by case. But
in the same way that people of color have had a hard time too.
In a different way, but
in a different way.
Yeah.
Still the same way.
I guess my point is saying it's a different example, but same math.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that because I understand your point.
I'm just saying it's like, it's like it's like sometimes I hear white female comedians talking about their struggle and I'm like, what? Like, look at the lineups. They're still mostly white.
Versus
it's like, don't lump me in with the males.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to bust my ass to get where I am.
But the same thing, don't lump the white female comedians in with the people who think that they're getting a better shot than black people. It's just grouping, everybody grouping.
I agree. Fair enough.
I'm also real agitated at the moment coming into this conversation with you. I made a tweet yesterday about it sucks that our choices are Trump and Biden. Obviously, vote for Biden. We need to vote for Biden. But fuck me, man.
Yeah.
And that's my truth. The truth is, Biden doesn't turn me on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What he does do is he includes minorities. He includes people that believe in science. He isn't, I mean, this is a pretty hyperbolic statement, but he isn't evil. But he's not Obama to me. I also don't know that much about it. What I do know about it, meaning every particular policy that isn't spun. I've educated myself more than I ever have in politics ever, and I have opinions. I shared that, and my mom texted me saying, by the way, my mom is smart. She knows what she's talking about, and she never tells me what to do. So this isn't coming from a place of resentment of this. She said, take that down. You're telling people blah, 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 blah. It bothered me because I don't want to have to manipulate people. I had such a long conversation, and I'm starting to feel like maybe this is boring and irrelevant. I had this. I want to get the point out, but I don't like what I'm doing now. I feel like I'm doing exactly what I didn't want to do, and I told my mom and my dad I don't want to do. But it basically, let me just tell you the feeling.
Just summarize it. Just,
Yeah, okay. My parents are saying you need to be pro-Biden and anti-Trump, otherwise you might convince people to vote for Trump or to not vote at all. And my point is, if I am doing what a lot of people are doing and just throwing, I'm not going to change anybody's mind who already has their mind made up. The only influence we have are people who are on the fence about who they're voting for or if they're even going to vote. So if I go and say, fuck you, you have to do this, I don't think that I'm going to have people's trust.
Well, I think that side is they've already made a mistake anyway. They were doing that before. They were
Who's
doing
that?
I'm talking about people that are like anti-Trump, just completely anti-Trump. Just keep saying anti-Trump.
They're not going to have the ear of the people who are in the middle.
And that's how he got elected in the first place. I mean, CNN was like, he'll never get elected. There's no way Trump can win. And it was like, oh, apparently there is a way, you know? So like I've had a problem with, and we've already said his name like 3 or 4 times on this podcast right now, right? I keep saying, like, instead of talking about Trump, just talk about who you want to vote for and why. You know? Because every time you use his name, it's just press for him. Like, it's like he should send a gift basket to SNL. He should send a gift basket to CNN and all the places that all they do is just constant Trump coverage. Boom, boom, boom. Tell me who you want to vote for and why. And talk about that person ad nauseum the way you talk about how you hate the other guy. Mm-hmm. That's what people should be doing. But they don't do that because it's not fun to talk about and even with these subjects like racism and misogyny, we're not talking about what we need to do to make it better. We just like talking about the bad part and keep talking about that over and over and over and over and over again. Why?
Well, people need to know also the bad part. But I think that information is already out there.
That's what I'm saying. But it's the same thing with with the Black Lives Matter. This shit was going on, and this happened in '92. The same shit is happening. Police brutality. So we haven't fixed the systemic problem. We haven't fixed the problem.
Yeah, but with social media, we have got more eyes and ears on it.
Well, I agree. Yes, I think that it's not even social media so much as like just the device itself. If those cops that killed George Floyd weren't on videotape, they would be free today and still working for the police department. Period.
And also, if that video, but to social media's credit, if that videotape didn't have an outlet, it would have been controlled on who gets to see it.
I don't know, because, that's just the Rodney King tape.
Did you see the Rodney King tape?
Rodney King tape came out.
You saw that, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody.
No, but that was a sensationalized explosive news to see that tape. Now we're just like, so we have to continue to do that.
But that happens every day, and now we're getting to see them. There's not, the thing that happened with Rodney King happened to.
It was lucky.
Happened to so many people.
And by the way, they were freed. They weren't found guilty.
Yeah, who tweeted that? That was such a good point. Someone,
which is what started the riots in the first place.
So yeah, someone tweeted that. Let's remember that. I think it was Larry Charles. Someone said, let's remember that the Rodney King riots didn't happen because Rodney King was beaten. It happened because they were acquitted.
Yeah, they were acquitted.
Yeah.
So that's going to be like the whole world. The eyes will be on the world of that trial. So that's like, I'm scared. That's what I'm scared about. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But anyways, I all of these things we're talking about is like, I like to use the word nuance. It's a nuanced discussion because all these things need to be unpacked and talked about, And I do appreciate a lot of these female comics that are coming out with their stories.
Yeah.
I've seen him on Twitter, and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
And then it's just as a person that I look back and I go, damn, I wonder, did I do something like that? Did I say something like that? So I have my own feelings about it. And so that's why I'm not jumping in, piling on the guy, just because that's what people want.
Yeah, so
I need time to like gather my thoughts and think about how I want to approach this and talk about it.
That's where it's like the black box.
I want to be thoughtful.
That's where it's like the black box to me, which is I don't know what's happening, but we have to talk about it. I don't love that we talk. It's fine. I'm okay with it, and I'm going to share this. I don't even love that we talked about it on this podcast.
I agree. I totally understand what you're saying.
But the reason I wanted to talk about it was less about Chris and more about the Twitter mob and the psychology of...
Oh, let's get to that too. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, I'm glad you said that. It's just because I totally agree. The cancel culture, the no due process, that's the part that bothers me. There's no due process in this. I just think that it's like, okay, so you got hurt feelings. You got the people who feel that they were treated unfairly. Then you got people that feel like they were victims of a crime. All that needs to be disseminated, processed, but it was just put out. Everything was just put out. Now everything's just opinions. It's just people's opinions.
Of which, and I still haven't seen everything, and I don't think we ever will see everything, but like then we see the other ends of the emails that just came out. And it's like, if anything, it adds to the context.
Yeah.
We could not like the guy. We could trust women while at the same time being conflicted with what happened when it happened a day ago.
Well, here's the thing too, though, is like if you really talk about it, unpack it step by step, okay? So here's the celebrity comedian talking to a girl who looks young. She's a young woman, okay? Is that where it should have stopped? Okay, I don't know. So you have that point that like him just being a guy trying to like, not just, I don't want to say it like that because that makes it like this is what guys do. I'm just saying like he was pursuing something. He was interacting with this person, okay? So is that interaction wrong? You have to decide for yourself there. Then the next step is they're having this talk, and then if she says, hey, I'm underage, and then he goes, oh, well, I'm out. The question you have all in there is like, well, why are you even talking to somebody that even resembles somebody that could be underage? It's like, that's a whole other argument. So you're saying, and that could be discussed too, but that's not a crime, So it's like, you have to separate what's what. So like, yeah, you go, and this is what I'm saying about a pattern of behavior, of being like, okay, who are you talking to? How are you talking to him?
Right.
Are you being nice to people? Because what I'm saying is that could have been a nice interaction he had with like, if he's like, hey, well, and they're like, whoa.
Well,
didn't know, let me finish. Didn't know you were like, okay, sorry, let's move on. But it turned out that this was some ongoing conversation that kept going until she was 21.
Oh, I don't know about that. What do you mean an ongoing?
What I'm saying is,
I thought she reached back out years later.
Still, what I'm saying is she still felt, okay, I'm going to reach out because I'm still a fan. I'm
sorry, I just don't know the point you're making. I'm not disagreeing.
What I'm saying is like, if the interaction had been different, would this have come out the way it came out? Like, how could he have controlled the situation, been better in the situation, been nicer, been a more gentleman, or could he have been a,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're, what I'm trying to say is, if that's your point, if you're saying, yo, dude, you don't got to be a dog, if you don't be a dog, and then maybe people, because it still could have happened, but I'm just saying, it boils down to that. It boils down to like, let's be nicer to each other, respectful to each other. And it's like, so if all these interactions are like, because like these women are coming out with all these stories, like look how he talks to me, like, it's like, okay. And in his own words, he let the lifestyle, get out of hand. But what I'm saying is we've conflated all of the shit together. Like, it's like the whole thing is like one big thing. And it's like, let's unpack all the issues. And that's why I feel like, for me, speaking for just me as a male comedian in LA, that's why I'm taking my fucking time about when I want to talk about this and how I want to talk about it. And I'm saying again, and fuck you for saying that because we didn't jump to judgment and jumped right on the internet and say all the shit we want to say, that we're somehow also agreeing with it.
Let's make it clear.
I can't stand
let's
that.
make it clear that like what we were saying about before about how you do what you do for things that matter to you. Just because you're not being public about it doesn't mean you're not reflecting and thinking and caring.
Right.
It's just not. We don't owe everybody our
I don't
truth.
owe you that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't owe you that on my podcast, on my Instagram. I don't owe you that. Okay, do I have my own sense of responsibility? Because you go like, yeah, because we talk about so many things.
Even what you were talking about of checking in with yourself with those 7 out of 10 times, this is stuff that's coming up for you that you're reflecting on and able to have a conversation with us now that's organic without going out there and saying something because you're scared what people are going to think of you.
Right. That's what the position they're trying to put us in. And then into that side, they probably go, well, finally you know how women feel. You know?
I know, I don't know. What's,
because they're scared.
And
You know?
yeah, but also, yeah,
So
you're
the
right.
So the tables have turned. So the women are going like, we're going to scare you into doing what you don't want to do the way we had to do.
But I'm not scared.
I get it.
I'm not scared to talk about it. I'm annoyed that my parents, for right or wrong, are telling me what to tweet.
Boom. Okay, we're on the same page with that. I don't mind talking about this subject. I know it's hot button. I know it's nuanced. I know it's a hard discussion. It's layered. I don't have a problem talking about it. But I do have a problem you telling me when, where, and how I should talk about it.
Which I do think, speaking for myself, there is something to look into. Why am I so triggered when people tell me what to do?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other
Yeah,
thing.
that's a different thing. Nobody wants to be told, but I don't think it needs to bother. But like to get messages from people and to tie this in with being an advocate for certain causes that I want to be an advocate for. On my Instagram, I am sharing a lot of stuff about the Black Lives Matter movement. Right?
Yeah.
I'm getting people sending me messages saying, "Shut up and dribble." You know what I mean? Like. And it's like, well, aren't you afraid of losing followers and blah, 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 blah? And it's like, what? No. And at the same time, when I'm tweeting something about Harrison Ford saying boobies in the Patriot games, and it made me laugh and making a joke about that, people are saying, oh, too bad you're not using your platform for something important.
Right.
It's like, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
All I could do is trust my instincts.
My platform.
Yeah. Which,
You know
by
what I
the
mean?
way, and also, and I know people are going to disagree because we may not realize the position we're in when we're in it.
Yeah.
But when people are talking about the influence I have, okay. You know,
I just
then
look,
watch my podcast.
Here's the hard part. So when the quarantine started and I was doing my content, I really enjoyed all the messages I was getting from people who were like, "Thanks for the distraction."
Right.
Thanks for like doing content. I've been down. I've been depressed. And so it's like, okay, I get it. I took the position of like, all right, let me just be fun. I'm playing my video games.
It's what you do for a living.
You know, exactly. My point is to like, let me distract you from the horrors of the world. And now it's turning into like, well, you have a platform.
Yeah,
and
I got to be an expert on civil rights and the fucking law. I don't know anything.
I got to be fucking Jesse Jackson and a fucking a feminist. All of a sudden, like, whoa, wait a minute. Let me, And again, it's not about being scared about talking about things. It's about like I don't want to talk out the side of my mouth when I myself have made people uncomfortable. I'm just acknowledging that.
You're right.
I'm not gonna come on my thing and be like, hey, this is terrible. Well, and I'm like, well, it was probably also terrible when I told that fucking waitress, or
I want to eat your pussy or I'm not leaving Atlanta.
right. You know what I mean? Or not. It's not always waitress. I'm just saying, like, or just
Waiter.
fans. You know. And I've had some great experiences too, where, like I said, those great experiences make you go. I met a girl. I was doing a college gig. A college girl was like, this was when I first started. She comes back to my hotel. We have the greatest time. And I made sure the steps was like, I was like, well, let's meet in the lobby and talk. I felt like, okay, this is a good. Anyway, my point is that when I saw if you saw a picture of this girl, you look at me, you would be like, how in the hell did that happen?
You're saying because she's prettier than you?
Yeah, like she's gorgeous. You know what I mean? So like you go,
which you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have power of being funny.
This is my thing too. That they go like these men of power, they're using their power and influence. Hey, how about start fucking ugly fat guys then? You know what I mean?
How about what?
How about start fucking ugly fat guys?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good position.
Like, if you're only going to chase after men of power and influence, It's like, like give the other guys a chance too, but that's not going to happen. So again, it's like the people of power and influence, you now have to, you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, but what about with regular power that allows a woman to be attracted to you for the first time ever because you have a joke? Am I now supposed to say, are you only sleeping with me because I'm funny? And are they supposed to say no? Because that is why they're sleeping with me.
Exactly.
I'm tall and I'm funny. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have my girlfriend now.
You just belly laughed in a show for an hour. I made you feel something, and now you want to it's like...
And also power. I can't even get Bombas to write me back.
I know. It's what I'm saying, but again... We're making jokes.
Not that it's anything.
I know. I say we're making jokes, but it's like the point is it's nuanced.
Oh, I gotta talk to you about that.
It's nuanced.
But the fact that you even had the instinct that I understand to say, but we're making jokes. And like when I laughed at the eating pussy thing, I'm not laughing at the mistreatment of women. I'm laughing at the fucking situation. And I don't like that I have this instinct to do this, but I accept it and I understand. It sucks that could be taken out of context.
Yes.
When I'm watching a
yes.
And also movies are allowed to be about anything horrible. Movies could be about race, rape, religion, pedophilia, horror, sewing mouths to assholes to make centipedes.
Yeah.
It could be about anything. But the minute it's a comedy, you're fucked. As if comedy, people think... I tweeted that people take the genre of comedy more serious than the serious genres. As if people think comedy means we're making fun of the victim as opposed to using a language to explain the situation.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough, especially when, and thank you, Chappelle, for trying to be an advocate to this, but we're trying to find perspective. Then we're trying to carve that perspective down to something that could elicit an emotion. And then collectively, we're trying to control most of those emotions to be laughs. It's hard. It's hard if everyone was allowed to say the N-word and have their penis out. If to then make rules, and I hate that I have to do this, but obviously don't say the N-word and don't have your penis out. But I'm saying to then make rules, it's like there's a line drawn in the sand, and we're walking on the beach with blindfolds on. And I don't know what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah.
There's some obvious ones. Don't talk to underage girls. Don't be rude. Don't punch people. Don't be racist. Blah, 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 blah. But I want to be able to experiment and do jokes and talk about the differences between, on a piano, as a musician, I learned to play in the key of C. It's a white key. Where I grew up in my neighborhood, we all learned the key of C. It's just the easiest way to learn. Now, I understand that there isn't any genre of music that hasn't been influenced by the black keys. But I learned, to make...
That's what makes it sound good, the black keys.
Black keys make it sound good. Try playing any song without black keys.
Yeah.
But you know what? Me being someone who learned in the key of C, it's harder to play in F sharp. It doesn't mean I shouldn't learn, and it's my responsibility to learn all the keys.
Ugh, that's a weird analogy, but I get you.
But what I'm saying is, to turn that analogy, I was thinking about that the other day because I'm coincidentally trying to learn other keys, comfortably. But I was thinking about, I would have some interesting analogies to make if I wanted to tie that into some other jokes I have about what's happening right now. Am I even allowed to talk about black and white keys without people thinking I'm not allowed to do it? That's not a good example, but I'm just saying I could. You could make a movie about slaves, but I can't talk about the keys on the piano because people hate comedians.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad that I've never been a laugh at me comedian. More of a what is he doing up there comedian.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm telling you what I'm glad about. I'm glad there's no comedy going on. I'm so happy that.
Isn't that an interesting coincidence?
I'm just glad it's closed. I really am, because I would not want to be dealing with this right now. It would be so much harder. It would be so much harder if the Comedy Store was open right now with all the things that are going on. It's just like
You're saying COVID aside.
COVID aside, yeah.
I also think it does a good thing that everything is forced to be shut down for a different reason than what's happening. Because in a good way, I think that things will be corrected for the better, for more equality, for more inclusiveness, for people to be more aware of what's happening. I do think it's a good thing, but I don't know if comedy will ever be the same. I was talking to somebody the other day who is, and I don't want to name them only because I'm not sure if they want to be named, but what they were saying was beautiful and it inspired me a little bit. And they've been around for a while enough to say, I've seen this happen, and it'll be for the better. I know that's a possibility. I just have a hard time visualizing it.
No, but I think it, no. I actually on the side of that because even after the Me Too movement, when it started, if you had misogynist jokes, you needed to make them better. So they're
you can't just be shocking.
You can't just be shocking. It's got to be like you need the women to go.
That's just good comedy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point.
So it's separating them. It's separating the good comics from the bad comics, the great comics from the good comics. So I don't mind that. And this is just another one of those
that's
things.
a great point.
That's going to make it happen too, because it's like here's
it's forcing people to write better.
Yeah. And even these women that are talking about that they're being held back.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going to happen when you're not being held back? You're going to have to be funny, So what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is like, I that's what I want. I want it like when you're given equal opportunity, make sure you take that opportunity and shine with it. So it's going to make everybody better.
Eric, I got to say, I've been very anxious for my entire life, but I've been very anxious. And as I've talked to you about, my OCD since this COVID stuff happened has been very, very difficult for me. And then to see what's happening in the world, to not only see what's happening now, but to my eyes to be opened even wider what's been happening and the lack of control I have and how sad. I think the stars were aligned that not only was the George Floyd video captured on camera and the time that is now that there are more people willing to see it, but also what happened on that camera, the things he said. And for me, the I can't breathe stuff and him calling for his mom and shit, that is, I never had a response to things that maybe were, you look at fucking shootings of tons of people. That's hard to kind of fathom what that means. And it's horrible, but it didn't, for whatever reason, and maybe I'm an asshole, it didn't elicit the same emotional response as this did. And I think that happened to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And with all this stuff, I haven't been able to articulate to myself my feelings. I still can't. So to come on a podcast and to do it, it's not going to be good. The long-winded way of explaining, I love that you came on my podcast. And I say mine, meaning that it's going to be on my channel, not, it's my channel. It's tied to me. And all the things that you've said, I think you've done such a really, really good job talking about all of this stuff. I think that, and you and I have talked about therapy for a while, and I don't remember when you got into it. I think it's got to be only in the past 2-3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But the conversations we've had just about us and the way you've been able to accept and hear the way I communicate my issues and difficulties to you. I just think that you're really, really smart, and I think you've done a very, very good job. I'm getting emotional now that I could deconstruct why. It doesn't really matter. I just feel like I have to admit it.
Yeah, it's okay.
But you just have really good points, and you're relatively speaking, because I still see you like, you do a good job of not letting fear stop you from saying what you believe, for right or wrong. And I happen to think that almost everything, if not everything, I don't remember everything, was right. But I'm really proud of your perspective on this. And I don't feel that I have done a good job explaining mine well enough. I feel like I was trying to make analogies and playing devil's advocate in a way that, is part of my thought process, but I'm glad that it was opposite you. And anyway.
Well, listen, I appreciate that, but I just want you to understand something. Is this goes to your point about what you were saying earlier about do something. So us just having a conversation, two Los Angeles male comedians, just having a conversation, talking about it the way we're talking about it, that's good. That can inspire maybe some other people to like look at their own behavior or be like, just spark the conversation. Because I do also recognize the importance of like, it can't just be the women talking about this. Because that's the same way of people going,
only black people talking about race.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being like, well, do the cops really do that? Maybe it happens a couple of times.
And
now when you go, because like, again, when I talk about my big brother from Big Brothers of America, who's a white Jewish guy, when I saw the Rodney King tape, even as a kid, I was like, oh, they did it again.
Right.
They just caught him this time. That was my perspective, growing up in a hood adjacent where I grew up, and just being around, seeing this kind of stuff. But for people, and maybe even for yourself, you're kind of a privileged kid. It's like you go, well, the cops are pretty. I've never really had a run-in with the cops like that. Are they? Maybe it's just like a few bad apples. But when you see something like that, because let me tell you the thing that gets me about the George Floyd tape. He saw that they were filming him. And there was something in him that he felt, we're still going to get away with this.
You're saying the cop saw?
The cop.
Right.
The cop knew he was being filmed.
That's what Chappelle was talking about with the hand in the pocket.
Yeah, the cop saw the filming, but he's gotten away with other things that he thought, I can get away with this.
It's not even getting away with it. He didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
Even worse. That's an even worse perspective. Okay? So my point is, like, so it's like, when I see that and I see how it's affecting people and stuff like that, I go, good, it's great. Like, I feel for you. I'm glad that you feel this way, but you know what? I don't need you to feel this way. I need...
You do. You need everybody to.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like, I already know. Like, listen, you're liberal. I know how you feel. All these Hollywood liberal people, I know the side they're going to take. What we need is the people that run things.
That's what the protests were for.
I know, but it can't just be with the protest. It has to be... Because the protests and riots and stuff, they don't change things enough.
I disagree. Oh, okay.
Because it's still happening. Laws have to change.
Yeah, it is. It's a start of it.
I understand, but it's a start that it doesn't finish it off. Because,
what does?
Because we rioted in 92. We rioted in 92, and now we're doing it again 30 years later. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's not like this kind of stuff hasn't been happening this whole time.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is it has to start in laws. It has to start in communities. It has to start with education. It's such a grander issue than just people out there being like, hey, no justice, no peace.
Well, this exposure is what helps bring, and especially with social media, the celebrity that politicians are now having. It brings to find the people who have the policies that you agree with, and promotes this trendy thing that Puff Daddy tried to do, 15 years ago, whenever it was, of fucking voting. And people are more willing. This is a microcosm of it, but Snoop Dogg said he's going to vote for the first time in his life. Like, just people are more willing to vote and are educated on who to vote for, and that's where it happens.
No, I agree, but it still has to start with that's
the only place it happens.
The idea of institutional racism, and I hate that phrase, but it's like it's just the institutional bad behavior or the institutionalizing of treating people a certain way, and it is very analogous to how women feel,
Agreed.
So I get that. So we have like institutional racism, institutional misogyny, it's like the same kind of behavior goes there. So how do we stop that? We got to start that it has to be with education. It has to be with how we teach young men how to talk to women, and how women also have to be taught how to respond, and because they want what they want too. Women are sexual creatures too, so we have to talk about the dynamics and how it should. And it's like it's so layered. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So like I'm saying, I'm overwhelmed by the racial issue. I'm overwhelmed by this issue with misogyny and all this. I'm overwhelmed with it, and that's why I didn't just rush to, let me just rush to talk about this because, if you don't talk about it, look how you're a bad person.
I've been thinking about, as far as the education and how to literally from formative years, about how Germany, it seems that Germany knows that there was a Holocaust and that they are taught about it, and they know what history was, and people could pick what was right and wrong, and let's get rid of the Jews because I hate the Jews. I'm never going to change their mind unless especially if they watch this podcast. But they know what happened. In our society, we are taught that slavery was a long time ago and it was bad and it's gone, but we're not taught about the real history. We're not taught about the people that made these things. We're not taught about where police came from. We're not taught about, this big movement right now on Robert E. Lee and how he's been glorified as this hero, but he was a slave owner and blah, 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 blah. And now they're wanting to change the names and et cetera.
Yeah. Same thing about the police. I totally agree with you about the history of the police. I come to find out the police started from the Klan started the police.
I didn't know this until 2016.
That's what I'm saying, man. So it's like
as a 30-year-old.
That's what I'm saying. So education is important. But I love your point about Germany because also the swastika is illegal in Germany. It can't be put anywhere. You know, they went, okay, that's a symbol of hate. Get it out of here.
But we are still celebrating these people.
Yeah.
And I have to make sure I say I'm not sure if this is true. I didn't just see a post. I did do some research, but I'm still not sure. But it all adds up to me. But I saw a post about Mount Rushmore. Did you see this? It about this was some Cherokee reservation, and they had this person who was part of the Klan basically carve these slave owners into the face of a mountain that they were killing people to take this land and showing them, we look at that as look at our pride and look at our country and look at our people.
And we use that as we used it for the greats. Like, who's on your Mount Rushmore of...
But what it really means, and people, how many years later did people finally decide to think that Christopher Columbus isn't a hero? We're taught that these people are good. And if we grew up knowing that where the police come from and they were to capture slaves who were running away, and that the 13th Amendment actually says not that abolishing slavery, but putting an asterisk next to it unless they're a criminal, and finding out about privatized jails and why they're trying to get these people for all these wrong reasons, and what the war on drugs really was, not just say no, but say no so you don't drive drunk. Not say no to weed because otherwise you're going to be taken away from your family and you're going to be sent to the...
Yeah.
The whole thing is shit. And I think just because I say to somebody, I want to wear a mask, it doesn't mean that I'm a pedophile. Or if I say I don't want to wear a mask, it doesn't mean that I'm anti-black. And there's all of these things that people... I'm feeling myself ranting too much and getting angry.
Yeah, we're good. You know what? We've gone along enough.
Yeah.
This has been like a long...
I don't even know if this podcast is worth putting out there. Is it?
Yeah, it's fine. You'll look at it. You'll pick the right moments, and I'm sure you're
I'm not going to take anything out. I can't watch this one.
What do you mean?
These are podcasts. There are certain podcasts that during it, if not by the end, where I am now, I'm hot. I'm hot during this entire thing. I'm angry.
Well, just I think you should watch it.
Well, I'm not gonna just put it out now. Watch it. I'm gonna have George take a look and take stuff out. And by the way, George, you could leave this part in, but I'm gonna say to you what I say to you on the phone all the time: take more out. My podcasts are too fucking long.
It doesn't matter. The people that watch them are gonna watch them. The people
I
that
don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not happy with this, but it is a real moment that we captured. So my rule that I set for myself with this podcast is I'm not going to control this ever. It's every week and put out a real moment. But like I don't know if I made clear enough how much I fucking hate Twitter and how much that people
I know, but
or against.
But the device that you say though that people should put things out on to help.
The difference between Instagram and Twitter is if you don't follow me on Instagram, you're not going to see it. But with Twitter, anybody could respond, and then it just brings out the fucking trolls.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. I'm so fucking hot right now.
And that has been Take Your Shoes Off with Rick Glassman. I'm Erik Griffin, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Hope you didn't finish it.
If you got to this point, good for you.
And now it's going to be, getting you back outside with the shoes. And I'll just tell you now so you don't get mad. Fine. So you think we're on stage and you could take it as a joke.
No, I know what to do.
Socks on the wood, not on the carpet. Makes sense, right? All right, make sure to buy my shirts. The
reason why I don't have my glasses on is I left them in the car and I didn't want to have to go
Nobody
through this
was wondering where your glasses were.
Yes, they were. People wondered. And I didn't want to have to go through this outbreak process again just to get my glasses. So I had these on and didn't realize I had them on.
All right, so in case anyone is confused, we're going to donate all advertising money from this to the Free Women of America. Oh, that's one more thing I want to touch on. Whatever, it's fine.
Goodbye, everybody.
Scoot doo, blabbity blue, scoop dee.